Admirers everywhere are still reeling from the departure of Robert Redford, Hollywood's enduring beacon, a visionary who crafted illusions, guided moral tales, and transformed isolation into a profound cinematic realm. When he left us, his estate hovered around $250 million, a fortune forged not through hype or controversy, but via decades of steadfast effort, creativity, and trust in the subtle strength of authenticity. Over 7 decades, he garnered acclaim as a performer, esteem as an Academy Award-winning filmmaker, and veneration as the creator of Sundance, the vital haven that revolutionized indie storytelling. His assets span the nation like fragments of an epic saga. Nestled in Utah's peaks was his expansive 2,600-acre retreat encircling the Sundance Resort, a gem worth tens of millions that left even Tinseltown in admiration. Outside Utah, properties dotted California, New Mexico, and Colorado. Villas, spreads, and open expanses bearing the mark of a creator attuned to the wild, embracing hush while exuding understated might. Spanning property to indie ventures, apparel to premium vintages, Redford's holdings wove fiscal riches with profound artistry, where tangible gains merged with deeper significance. His prosperity chronicled a life of tenacity and principle, a figure who, right up to the end, prioritized impact over ease. Now his kin confront an immense bequest, not merely riches but responsibility. Who will ignite the spark he ignited? Who will safeguard the sorrow, the drive, and the shards of a myth who opted for timeless hush? If a single scene, portrayal, or the warmth in his gaze ever moved you, share a note below. Farewell, Robert Redford, honoring this timeless icon. To audiences, Robert Redford shone as cinema's radiant emblem, but insiders knew his path started amid hardship. A vulnerable child battling to reclaim his mobility amid quiet terror, affliction, and dread. Arriving on August 18, 1936, in Santa Monica to Charles and Martha Redford, he matured under the Depression's pall in a modest dwelling where aspirations cost less than sustenance and desires balanced against daily necessities. Early on, he grasped that splendor could thrive amid scarcity, and conviction served as an unyielding asset his folks clung to fiercely. At 10, polio gripped him, twisting playground joys into endless clinical evenings where antiseptics stung the atmosphere and anxiety crushed his ribs like granite. I feared I'd never run again, he'd reminisce. Yet Mom wouldn't allow defeat. Evening by evening, Martha's palms kneaded his rigid limbs until they stirred anew, instilling resolve in the lad, destined to show humanity that fortitude emerges not from conquests, but from scarcity, denial, and the subdued persistence that outlasts capitulation. By adolescence, that torment evolved into defiance. Restive and furious, he roamed Los Angeles avenues, courting peril to sense vitality, rebelling against the inertia that pursued him. He veered into risky circles, skirted justice, and teetered on self-destruction until his dad's firm grip yanked him from the brink. I chased an unnamed void, Redford admitted years on. That yearning, that void for purpose, shadowed him eternally. To escape the inner tumult, he embraced creativity and motion, drawing strangers' visages, inhaling vast horizons, and wielding a racket with the same rebellion that fueled his early rage. He briefly coached tennis icon Pancho Gonzalez, a fleeting glow hinting he might fit beyond dread's confines and want's grip. But destiny lingered. In 1955, at merely 18, calamity echoed harshly. His mom, the tender restorer who'd revived his stalled form, faced an operation and vanished from it. What dawned hopeful concluded in sepsis, extinguishing his world's glow with her exit. The Van Nuys residence hushed. Charles concealed mourning behind resolute gazes, and young Robert grasped bereavement's toll prematurely. It carved a void I couldn't seal, he'd note. A void trailing into acclaim, victory, into eras where cheers should have muffled it, yet failed. Opportunity flickered briefly, an athletic grant to the University of Colorado, but unease, remorse, and spirits snuffed it. Penniless and jaded, he crammed existence into luggage and evaporated over the ocean, roaming France, Spain, Italy, illustrating to ease famine, strolling to mute remorse. Fortitude whispers, he'd reflect. It's advancing when terror justifies halting. Back in New York, he hauled not riches, but instruments, palettes, drafts, blemishes, and an oath. When anguish revisited, he'd confront, not concede, but engage via labor. That oath forged his core and infused his craft. His saga sprang not from allure, but rupture, from a frame once locked by ailment, from a spirit fractured by absence, from a craving that sculpted aspiration from void. What posterity hails as genius stemmed from banishment, seclusion, from a figure reconstructing from alarm and indigence's debris. Each celluloid moment, character, each subdued gaze on screen bore that muted verity gleaned in youth. Even stripped of joy, maternal caress, hearth's warmth, one may elect renewal. To observers, Robert Redford's late 1950s New York arrival appeared mere youthful pursuit. Yet it masked the frantic wager of one already etched by malady, mourning, and disgrace. Scars that might have crushed him instead tempered his resolve to iron. At 22, with maternal demise fresh and scholarship shame searing like concealed mark, he trod Manhattan's cramped lanes under sputtering signs and damp asphalt scent, bearing not assurance but endurance's load. No buffer, no legacy, merely pallets, gnawing want, and echoes of a mom's palms once rousing him from immobility, imparting combat. He pursued illustration at Pratt Institute, gripping aesthetics as if hues could haul him from gloom. Funds eluded me, but hours didn't, and I toiled till time equaled riches, he'd evoke. His works teemed with turbulent heavens and solitary forms, mirrors of a youth repainting fate post-bereavement. Nocturnally, he nearly sensed his mom's tone in the void. Persist, Robbie. Advance. It sustained him as isolation gnawed his determination's fringes. Yet aesthetics, intimate as it was, bred seclusion. Thus, nearly challenging retreat's pull, he joined the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Performing wasn't epiphany, it was endurance rebranded. He wasn't unearthed, he persisted. At 24, he eked via minor TV gigs, The Twilight Zone, Maverick, Perry Mason, bits so scant they scarcely covered lodging. Initial earnings, $75, post-expenses, $3 remained. But he pocketed that worn note for years, a token that each cent bore honor's load. No glamour, he'd note later. Pure persistence. Survival, however, bore malice. The radiant visage later emblematic of U.S. film was initially his direst bane. Directors gazed and spied mere harmony, not essence. They dubbed him overly comely, pristine, refined to credit. The youth once warring affliction and despair now clashed an unseen foe. Viewpoint. A lavish trap, he'd concede. Enclosed, yet deemed unfit. His allure unlocked portals merely for slams, ensnaring the creator in irony, loveliness eclipsing the torment below. Undeterred, he spurned obscurity. Offspring of an accountant raised tallying coins amid depression's gloom, he mastered extending famine into momentum, rebuff into tenacity. He leased chilly quarters, subsisted on dark brew and tenacity, grasping art's essence, enduring to validate relevance. Then 1963 shattered fetters. Broadway's Neil Simon barefoot in the park cast him as youthful spouse opposite Elizabeth Ashley. At 27, he claimed spotlight unveiling his authenticity. Nightly, he delivered not allure but candor, humor, cadence, and subdued longing critics couldn't dismiss. The production soared. For Redford, beyond success, emancipation. They perceive me finely, he'd muse. Beyond mere appearance. Appearance. As nightly roars swelled, He envisioned his mom's visage amid spectators, the resilience teacher beholding her offspring claim stature. Broadway summoned screens. Hollywood parted barriers, warily, then wholly. Redford transitioned to movies. Modest parts initially, then portrayals unveiling the profundity he'd long battled to affirm. Yet amid acclaim, early rebuff's bite lingered. That lesion fueled his quest for mastery. Sundance's genesis, actor to filmmaker shift, screen to morality pivot. Pursuit never sought renown, liberty. To narrate tales no longer diminished to visage. Retrospectively, irony stings cruelly, poetically. The figure reshaping U.S. film, voicing the voiceless, illuminating the overlooked, ascended combating superficial verdicts. Skill equated to form. Those epochs, from TV's hazy stages to Broadway's dazzling glare, rooted Redford's tenacity. He validated not facade but figure, not illusion but artisan molded from setback, want, elegance. Broadway merely commenced. Lurking were pictures sparking stardom, spanning realms, imprinting him eternally on era's recall. What sparked as tenuous ascent morphed into tempest, a figure ascending from muteness and woe, striding immortality with subdued certainty of one who'd glimpsed abyss, vowing non-return. Robert Redford's Hollywood pinnacle gleamed like perpetual dawn. Beneath that luster lurked unseen gashes, veiled conflicts ingrained in acclaim's hushed nooks. Through late 1960s, 1970s, he appeared invincible, a screen deity whose moniker alone propelled flicks to revenue peaks. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Sting, The Way We Were, All the President's Men, each portrayal chronicled U.S. film's core. Each vista epitomized a cohort trusting fleshly icons over stone. His works amassed $1.5 billion globally. The Sting's 1973 $159 million equates $1 billion now. Studios tying his title saw riches surge. Outlets hailed him cinema's ultimate luminary. Yet amid cheers loomed a figure shadowed by the youth, illustrating amid famine, questioning if masses cherished facade over essence. Adoration's visage bore no boonson's bane, he'd concede. Overly fair, refined, flawless for reality. Early directors' murmurs adhered like frost on pane. Even commanding $2 million film salaries, possessing spreads across California, Utah, he sensed a muteness no opulence silenced. A lavish enclosure, he'd murmur, within, yet deemed alien. Post-premieres, he'd lie beneath gilded vaults, murmuring into gloom, "This can't encompass all." That murmur, half supplication, half revolt, pulsed his constructions. When 1974's The Great Gatsby stumbled despite his draw, $7 million budget scarcely reclaimed, reviewers assailing his gilded tragedy, wound gaped raw. Publicly a misstep. To Redford, evidence flawlessness imprisoned. Undaunted, he amplified candor. All the president's men defied, a $9 million civic wager netting $70 million, alchemizing doubt to mastery. Process? Agony. Headlines derided idealism. Execs labeled him comely thinker. Film mirrors unease, he asserted. He bore that mantra as lesion. Pivot reshaping fate. 1980s ordinary people. Muted, shattering bereavement narrative echoing his saga. Tinseltown scoffed. Handsome can't fathom woe. One reviewer jeered. Through 56 grueling shoots, insomniac nights, he transmuted torment to sight. $6.2 million cost yielded $55 million, claiming 4 Oscars, Best Director among. Accepting, he whispered, for her. Honoring mom who'd revived his stalled limbs. Victory couldn't tame. Renown never destination. Autonomy was. 1981, he funneled $5 million lifetime gains into Utah's desolate terrain for Sundance Sanctuary. Pals deemed madness. Irrecoverable, warned a backer. He didn't reclaim, for years it hemorrhaged. Sold artworks, raided reserves, pledged terrain to sustain vision. Crafted haven for unheard tones, he noted. Tones arrived, novice helmers, debut scribes, unprivileged creators. Money-losing fest morphed $100 million cultural bastion. Resort sold later for $75 million, funneled to creativity ecology causes. Thus, Redford's aureate epic's luster wasn't mere sheen, illumination from strife. Loveliness hammered in weariness, flawlessness veiled by anguish. Observers spied conquest, he endured. That endurance erected truest riches, not receipts but autonomy, honor, heritage. Applause to activism, flop to bedrock, acclaim to others' propellant. From isolated youth illustrating mutely to Sundance architect, each celluloid affirmed verity. Eminence springs not ease, but blaze. Robert Redford bore that blaze to last exhale. To masses, Robert Redford's saga sparkled fairy tale-esque. Yet red carpets, thunderous cheers masked humbler, verrier narrative of youth-discovered affection, conviction on shaky soil, a figure deeming sanctuary storm-proof. 1958, age 22, pre-Spotlight's glory, he wed Lola Van Wagenen, subdued luminary, lasting poise, becoming not spouse, but haven. Initial era modest, hand-me-downs, frayed rugs, tardy rents, suppers from week's yield. To Redford radiant, post-illness mutinous youth, he'd unearthed tranquility. Abode swapping cheers for mirth, worth via devotion, not spotlight. Jointly erected unphotographable realm, flawed mini-paradise from loyalty, trust, pledge-weathering gales linked. Destiny scorns pledges. Initial gale struck ruthless. Firstborn Scott endured mere weeks. Joy-painted nursery muted, tints bleaching to morning's ash. Untouched infant garb, cradle as unheeded plea. Lola, every turmoil serenity, left embracing void. Redford, powerless, bore irrefutable. No devotion, pending acclaim could recast vanished eras. Years on, he'd confide gently, such voids never mend, you navigate around. Truthfully, he dwelled within. Bereavement morphed soul's concealed chamber, molding each gaze, line, grin, scarcely ocular. Masses spied Sundance lad, dauntless, aureate, undying. Beneath, dad eternally grieving ageless offspring, acclaim shimmering round unseen hollow. Second son, James, Jaime, reignited hope, tenuous candle flicker versus gale. Premature, physique delicate, lungs frail, prospects hazy. Clinic hall's second domicile. Machine drones supplanted lullabies. Redford mastered graphs, monitor cadences, supplicated mutely, not wonders but extra dawn. Jaime weathered dual liver swaps, myriad ops, pain-spanning eras shattering most. Redford dual existed, diurnal Hollywood paragon, poised, authoritative, timeless. Nocturnal, bedside vigil, discarded scripts, murmuring to slumbering youth, haggling unrelenting cosmos. Like perpetual overcast, he shared confidant. Storms breach unpredictable, one day, breach. 2020, post-near six-decade grit, Jaime's strife ceased. Bile duct malignancy, age 58. For Redford, then enfeebled, not mourning. Recurrence, past's harsh reprise. Ensuing muteness profounder than lexicon, weightier than saline. Dual sons claimed across eras, imprinting inescapable. Even titans can't outpace torment. Publicly unscathed, flicks netting billions, moniker gold walk eternal. Privately, thrice fractured dad pre-sterile cots. That duality, poise grief, acclaim vulnerability, propelled his aesthetics. Portrayals potent via paradox, delight despair, win yield, radiance gloom. Post-marital close, heart-shunned hasty restarts. Sensationalists fancied liaisons, reality subdued, solitary. He advanced warily, probing if time-fractured core risked faith anew. Fleeting glows ignited. Sibyl Sager's fervor, Fatigued yet love-reluctant. Known triumph pinnacles, billion box offices, Utah, California estates, Hollywood's zenith-etched moniker. Encircled by emblems, grasped existence's harsh parody. Riches procure near all bar serenity. Acclaim packs every chamber bar loss void. Vast fortune, towering heritage. Defining? Not holdings, but weathered. Perhaps truest riches, not erected realm, but grace sustaining irrecoverable. To masses legend. Internally, figure eternally lauding stage departed, bearing radiance, benevolence, bequeathed muteness. Final drape dropped, perchance beyond clamor, rediscovered them. Guffawing aureate gleam, awaiting final shot. Post-tempests, Robert Redford traversed days akin to figure beneath sun-forgotten firmament. Stride once, mastering peaks, sets decelerated to endurance cadence. Cadence once conviction-rich softened to reminiscence echo over decree. Physique, proud, yielded to eras. Lungs hauling peak breezes faltered under age burden. Palms once camera-firm quivered with recall. Intellect persisted, lucid, keen-edged, moored to candor terrain Sibyl. The spouse mused tranquility post-lifetime gales. Encircling, discipline forged dominion spanning 6+ eras. Sundance Enclave, Utah Sun vast golden moniker foundation nurturing generational creators. Era-defining flicks, truth conscience reshaping. Net value neared $250 million. Counted? Hours. Desert luminance waning window gaze, Sibyl painting hush listen. Enclosing fame irrelevance. Breath cadence, devotion load, rain pulse alone. Sibyl dust compass, age tremor steader, storm post harbor. Enclosed time leavings. Fatigue outlasting vigor, muted skirmishes, sagacity witnessing legend mortality. Faced as always, sans display, grievance, boyhood defined, subdued dignity. September 16, 2025 arrival. Sundance atmosphere attenuated still. Firmament vast gold over Wasatch crests. Home calm, cherished protected terrain encircled. Final exhale, less finale, more earth return. No pomp, footlights, closing cheers, soul inevitability hushed pine breeze murmur. Heart-hauling conquest sorrow merely stilled. Publicly, cinematic epoch closure. Kin, core's abrupt implosion. Grief rebuild years spent fragment. Sibyl, lexicon beyond ruin. Anchor refuge, post-decades loss rebreather. Abode once hue, music, earth, prayer, vibrant, muted. Easels incomplete, piano idle, atmosphere faint scent trace. Palms once hers steadied, mere ether. Voice once art narrated, soul echo void. Offspring Shauna, Amy, Dylan, progeny. Old Gale revival grief, mourned not myth. Garden silent sitter, soil wind patience teacher. Vacant seat, unsealable lesion. Bree Sands near laugh audible. House echo dual titles, Scott, never aged infant. Jaime Longstriver son. Redford lifetime absences bore. Now kin bore his. Public learning, thunder headlines. Final colossus tumbles. Accolades from chiefs, helmers, shapers via vision. Grace, blaze, rigor, muteness to aesthetics, conscience to screen figure. Utah, grief cameraless. Sibyl solitary sketches clasp. Half lines quivering, return await. Scarf weep faint scent hold. Window chair touch, reed post. Habitual voice, shatter stillness await. Offspring, lost survival versed. Mourned, restraint defined, mutinous endurance. Displayless, exhibitionless, soul void persistence. Wall images vital gone. Sting grin, president's men resolve. Sundance shaping palms, wilderness sanctuary. Time on, forward carry as he. Quiet rites, cherished earth tend. Desert stars film replay, rain return name whisper. Estate kin grandkin foundations partitioned. New tone sustain, ecology guard, hope once void discovered. Redford truest heritage, not aureate grace. Riches not numerals import. Touched lives, told verities, dreamers' courage. Art world alter belief. Beloved hearts most. Absence final opus. Invisible vast desert, rain-tender presence. Wealth chasers exist, dust builders too. Fragment frame dreamstone. Robert Redford, $75 weekly paintbrush youth initiated. Legacy 250 million finale. Life's genuine tally, unnumerable. Twilight eras. Net value artist rare pinnacles attained. Forged not bequest vanity, unyielding aesthetics. 5-decade flicks era-defining directorial stories world truth view alter. Institutions outlasting. Dollar hard won, labor hazard, compromise refusal. Boy hunger margin illustrator to purpose empire architect ascended. Core, Sundance, Utah mountain realm. 5,000 wilderness acres, home haven 200 million plus. Testament, unsold, guarded solely. Sundance Sans, treasures other. Santa Fe abode 20 million, Sibyl spouse muse piece bequeathed. Gallery living home, art memory breathe unison. California seaside 15 million. Surviving trio Shauna, Amy, Dylan continuity pledge, love heritage laughter echo. Not domiciles, soul extensions. Walls sketches carry, windows world frame once vigor protected. Excess man never, possession each saga told. Garage motion memory tale, Jaguar XK120, Porsche 356, 1965 Mustang. Hands restored craft control emblems, spin rapid realm. Modest Gulfstream G150, shuttled Utah Los Angeles. Not extravagance, instrument, matter, most time save. Drawer vintage timepieces trove. Patek Philippe Calatrava 24,999. Rolex Explorer Omega Seamaster, grandchild marked. Note hand scribed, time gauge not, count craft, ordinary people. Oscar glassless enshrined.